Time now to assume the guided meditation position, just allowing yourself to get comfortable and settle into this moment. Closing your eyes, starting to consciously breathe in and out through your nose. Just letting your breath come and go from your body. And as you're breathing, allow the edges of your eyes to begin to soften. Just allow that softening feeling to spread into your cheeks and into your jaw, just softening and slowing the breath down. Feeling your body settling into this space, letting your shoulders go. Feeling your ribs expand and contract with your breath. Just noticing any thoughts, any feelings, and just letting them pass on through. Coming back to your breath. And taking a moment just to connect with your heart. Noticing your heart, and from your heart set yourself some intentions, setting the intention to serve your highest good, to receive, to make the most of this session, and setting the intention to be of service. So feeling your feet on the ground and just giving your toes a little bit of a wiggle and noticing that energy moving into your ankles, flexing your ankles, into your calves and shins and up into your knees. Just notice the energy in your body, into your hips, to your lower back, your upper back, your chest, maybe giving your shoulders a little bit of a roll and your neck a little bit of a wiggle, and just allowing your attention to settle in behind your eyes. And from this place, just reminding yourself of the intentions you made from your heart, so you connect your head and your heart, so we're coherent. And on your next in-breath, just opening your eyes and we'll begin.
Right, so welcome to our solstice special. And, it's a really special time because regardless of which hemisphere you're in, you're either just coming out of the darkness and into the new, or you've gone through the summer solstice and you're coming into yourself. But it's a turning point, right? So it became really obvious to do a session on patterns because unconscious patterns are really important. They're really important to get to know. You know, you want to make it your best friend. You want your unconscious pattern to be the thing that you recognize. You know how you've got those friends that you see them way down the street and you're like, yay, right? You want your unconscious pattern to be that you know it so well that you know when you're in it. Right? And why is that?
Well, whenever we're going for something and we don't get it,
put you on the spot.
We've fallen into our pattern. You know, well, if we're creating, we're in innocence and we're open. We're not in a pattern. We're just taking the next step. We're just doing what's obvious. But when we're in a pattern, we're treading down an old familiar road. We're in our identity. And it's often, whenever we go for something in life and we don't get it, we've often taken the same series of unconscious steps that screw us over.
And of course, the thing about the pattern is you're in it all the time, right? This is what I know everyone here has done alchemy, so you've seen William pull out the pattern out of 3 stories of when a person went for something and didn't get it. Those of you who just did alchemy with me recently, saw my pattern play out, right in front of, like right in the session while my pattern was being done, right? And the thing is that whenever you're not consciously choosing to be creating, you're in your pattern, right? That's the thing that people often miss. That it's not just something that turns up when you decide to go for something. Your unconscious pattern is the pattern that you made up when you were a child as the safest way to go through life, right? So you play it out over and over and over. And the only way out of it is to focus on something that you want to create, right? And take the obvious steps towards that. So that's why you want to know what your pattern is, because then you can go, oh, there's that step. All right, time to stop and focus on what I want to create and the obvious next step towards that, rather than continuing the unconscious pattern. Right, so that's what we're going to do today. It's going to be a little a taster, right?
Yeah.
You're literally going to have an hour, so half an hour per person in the breakout room, which isn't enough time to pull out the whole thing, but it's plenty of time to pull out a few steps, right? So your unconscious pattern is going to have 17 to 23 steps. You don't need to know all of them, right? Because it's the same pattern. It's the same pattern. So as long as you know a few of them, as long as you can get, 5, 8 in the session today, you'll have that marker, right? You'll have that signpost. And that's really all you need to begin with, right?
And that little bit of window of awakening of just getting a few steps out often is a window of awakening. The more conscious we become of the few steps that we can pull out, we can then start to recognize more steps for ourselves. And if you have a journaling practice or something like that, noticing these things down, because the more we know our unconscious selves, the more powerfully we can neutralize what stops us getting what we want when we're in creating. I want to say, for those of you that have done mastery, this is much like the DATS process, bit of a shortcut for it. For those of you that haven't done mastery, this is one of the big reasons to go off and to sign up and do mastery the next time you can do it, because you learn about this in a lot more detail in doing mastery.
So don't mistake this for the mastery process. We're not teaching mastery, but it's just we've done a little blend of just basic circle work, right, which we'll frame up in just a moment, and using that as a way of getting to know just a little bit of your pattern. So this is what we're going to do. And I was in my pattern just a little while ago, and and at about 1:45 went, hey, I think it'd be great to have it on slides, right? So there I was in the last 10 minutes going, oh, let's put it on slides because visual stuff's really good. So here we go. So now I better share them, right? Now that I've had this little pattern interaction. So unconscious patterns, right? So your pattern, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, because we've got quite a few new people in the group, so it's the unconscious steps that you take to resolve conditions or your identity, right? That's basically what you're doing, right? They're always the same, no matter what you undertake. Right? So whether you're going for something big, whether it's your big vision of creating community or becoming a coach or writing a session, or whether you're literally making your lunch, right? You're in your pattern. And especially if it doesn't go the way that you would have loved it to go, if your day doesn't turn out, if you get to the end of your day and you go, oh, that didn't turn out how I thought, it's because you were in your pattern, right?
I'd argue with that. If it doesn't turn out how we expect, we could be highly creative.
Sorry,
and
yes.
not knowing what's next.
Thanks for the correction. If your day doesn't turn out how you would love it to turn out, that's the distinction, isn't it?
Thank you.
If your day doesn't turn out how you would love it to turn out, you can be sure that you're in your pattern, right? And it's because your focus is hijacked, right? So your pattern is there all the time, and that's where your focus goes. It goes to resolving your identity. It goes to making sure that you're good enough to create the thing, right? It goes to making sure that everyone else is around you is happy. It goes to making sure that whatever it is, right? So a way you're either catering to conditions or you're catering to yourself, trying to make yourself feel okay, right?
Making yourself feel complete, or resolving that part of you that you don't want to own, or you think that's incomplete about you. So, yeah.
So that's what we're going to uncover. Now, today's circle work is going to be a little bit different to how we normally love to run circles, right? To run practices, because normally when we run a practice, we try to leave each other and the person in their greatness, right? And there will be some of that, but you will be spending a lot more time in the current reality or the victim circle than what you will be spending in the vision circle, right? And there's a reason for that. So just be prepared, be a powerful creator, and be prepared that you will be spending more time in the victim circle. You will be going into the vision circle to begin with. And the reason for that is, I love the way that you put it when we were having dinner.
Yeah. So it does start off with just a brief reading, a brief touch with the vision, 100% in the end result of the vision. And we do this to set the tension up because, we need to have two circles to create tension to drive up wisdom, the principles of alchemy and the structural creating. But also, when we are in that vision, when we're in touch with our greatness, when we're 100% in the vision, we're in our greatness. When we're in our greatness, we are more powerfully able to observe our dysfunction without actually being caught in our dysfunction. When we're in our shit and we step in shit, we smell like shit. But when we're in our greatness and, we just walk right on through it and it doesn't touch us. So that's the state we want to get into. We want to be in contact with our 100% of the vision in our greatness so that we can then powerfully observe what's going on in our identity circle without making it mean stuff about us, without being caught in it, being able to be the powerful observer of it.
So here's the circles, right? Here are the circles. So what you're going to do, you'll be in breakout rooms in pairs. And you will have circle number 1 will be...
Feel free to take a screenshot of this if you don't think you can remember it. But
you'll be working with a choice that's either stuck or oscillating, right? It's great if it's like a purposeful work choice or something like that. If you don't have your choices, if you're fairly new and you've just done alchemy and you haven't got them formulated yet, just work with something that you'd love to have that you don't have yet, right? So you want to work with something that you'd love to have, but you don't have it, right? Because, of course, the reason you don't have it is because you're in your pattern, right? You haven't actually gone for it and got it yet. So it's a great thing to work with. So you'll be working with a choice, and you're just going to use it as a primer. So when you go into the room, you're just going to tell the other person your choice very briefly. Should take less than 10 seconds, right? You just say hi, tell them your choice, and then you only have 5 minutes in this circle, 100% in the end result of that choice, right? So your partner is going to do a quick 1 to 2 minute reading on you on that choice.
You'll read yourself as well.
And then you're going to read yourself, right? So your partner's going to spend 2 minutes just giving you a quick rundown of what it looks like when you're 100% in the end result. What are you doing? How are you behaving? What's going on around you? How does it look? And then you're going to do a quick reading on yourself. So for this circle, you don't do any writing, right? You're just going to speak, like observe the obvious and create your destiny. So 5 minutes for both of you to get an idea of what this is like.
To get in touch with your greatness and to set the tension up.
Then you will go into the second circle, which is... My slides aren't shifting. Why not? They're rebelling. Come on.
Is the internet...
Oh,
What's
hang
going
on. It's all right. 100% in the end result. I think I just didn't change the thing. All right, forget that. So I'm going to just quickly change it. So a second circle, you're going to spend 10 minutes when you're 100% in identity, right? And you're looking for the same things, right? So what are you thinking? How does it feel? What are you doing? How are you behaving? What's the inevitable outcome?
So things that you can recognize, things that you're going to pick up on, things that you're going to know, oh, I'm starting to question myself again.
Yeah, so do intend when you're 100% in identity, do intend that you'll get, that kind of information. And in this one, you'll have 10 minutes, right? So I'm just going to stop sharing slides for a moment. So in this circle, do spend a couple of minutes writing, right? So step into the identity circle, do the big circle and go identity. How does it look in there in relation to the choice that you're working with, right?
So you're both writing at the same time. You're both spending 2 or 3 minutes just writing what you're getting, and then you start to share that and pulling out more detail. And this whole process, intention is everything. You're intending to be of service. You're intending to be in innocence. You're intending to go for the truth, and you're intending to be open to be read.
Yes.
You're intending to pull out the steps. So intention is everything.
So 100% in the end result for 5 minutes. So that's you're going to have to be really quick onto it with that one. 100% in your identity for 10 minutes, right? So again, you're going to have to be fairly speedy, right? So you write for a couple of minutes, then you share what you each get. And as Ed mentioned, because you've set the intention, you'll then pull out your steps. So then you will have 15 minutes to pull out your steps. And you're going to do it by taking turns, right? So you're going to look at the identity circle, what you've written, what you've shared in the identity circle, and go, okay, what are some of the obvious steps that you take that aren't working towards your vision? Right? So use your intuition, observe the obvious, and take time to really dig down, and you're only really looking for 5 to 8 steps. If you get more, great, right? They don't need to be in any order, but what you want to do is from that current reality circle or from that identity circle, you want to look for things that the person can recognize, right, in their everyday life. Because what happens is we go through life and we think that we're just doing stuff randomly, right? But when we step into the circle and when you've got somebody else observing it, they go, that's not random stuff that's happening, that's your pattern. So some of the things that you're doing in your life that you think are just random things, or that you think are you actually responding to what's happening around you, you're going to, through this process, find out are actually part of your pattern, that they're not you responding, it's actually you reacting on automatic, right? So that's what the process is about, and that's what you want to intend to uncover. Okay? So any questions? So Ed's about to, you forgot to tell people that you were setting up breakout rooms.
Yeah, and I'm paying the price.
You are paying the price. Jump in, there's a pattern. So anyone who can't stay for another hour, drop off now so that we can set up the breakout rooms for you. And in the meantime, while Ed's setting up the breakout rooms, any questions? Wailu.
Yeah, I think I just missed the last bit. So the pattern 15 minutes, that's still a circle work?
Yeah, so the pattern is, it's you can step into a circle of the pattern. And that's actually a really good point. We normally just go, okay, we've got circle 1, which is your vision. or the 100% in the end result. We've got circle 2, which is your identity, obviously. And then the third one is the wisdom that pushes up, right, as a result of the tension between the two. So some people do call it a circle and they go, okay, let's step into the circle of the pattern, and it's quite powerful if that helps you. But what it really is, you've got the truth, what you love, you've got the truth of the current reality, and that pushes up the wisdom, right? So it's actually that circle 3 at the top of the triangle, the truth, love, wisdom triangle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the choice we choose, the choice I was thinking is something that is time dependent partly. So it's something that I'm planning to do in the next 3-4 months. So can I, so I'm doing it now. Like I choose the end result of having that thing happen. So I'm still taking steps, working towards it. Can I still use that choice for this one? Because it's not really something.
I would suggest, first of all, and I'm not going to get hung up on how to formulate choices, but first of all, most of the time, our choices don't have a time frame on them, right? But I'm not going to get hung up on that.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So, yeah, what you can do is just choose a purposeful work choice, right? And if someone gets really stuck, you can just go, I choose the end result of living my true nature and purpose, because you're going to get what you intend to get anyway.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
But great question. Thanks, Wailu. Great question. All right. Any other questions? I'm just flicking through the pages because we've got lots of people here.
Did you tell them that they'll have to time for themselves?
Ah, yes. No, I didn't.
There you go.
So we're going to
That's why I'm
send.
on the big money.
We're going to send a banner at halftime only, right? So take responsibility for yourself, You're going to be really quick in the first 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. So you're going to have half the time to pull out the pattern and do a quick debrief at the end. And the first half is for setting up the tension between your vision and your current reality, or 100% in the end result, and 100% in resolving your identity or conditions. All right, any questions? Sorry, Irene, we're not going to answer that because it's not the space for it, because it's not the magic cauldron thing here. But the any of our magic cauldron coaches in training, this is a great opportunity, of course, to work with people and get into your intuition. And for everybody else, again, it is a great opportunity. These practice sessions are absolutely a great opportunity to receive some information about yourself, right? Yes, they are. And at the same time, you won't be serving yourself if you mistake this for coaching, right? So what this is about is for each of you to practice your intuitive skills, right? That's what practice sessions are really about, right? It's for practicing your intuitive skills in reading somebody else and being able to read yourself, right? But most of the time you get some gems from people as well, right? But just be aware of what the intention of practice sessions is, and don't mistake it, because you won't get as much out of it if you're expecting it to be a coaching session for you, as opposed to you practicing your intuitive skills with somebody else. Okay, how are we going with the rooms?
All good to go.
Are we good?
Yep.
All righty, awesome. Any last questions before you shoof you out there into the ether?
And just remember what room you're in case you drop out. We can easily put you back in.
All right, now I'm noticing that there are 3 people without their cameras on. Are you all able to be present and have your camera on? Yes, awesome,
rooms?
excellent.
Okay.
All right,
Good to go.
off you go. See you in an hour. We'll send you a banner at 30 minutes at halftime, and then we'll see you back here for a debrief at the end. If you're not sure what you're doing, don't worry about it. The other person will know, right? But
Assume that you can.
Exactly. You do know what you're doing, and we've got lots of experienced creators here. We've got lots of new people. So we trust in the Zoom gods that they've put you together with just the right person. See you on the other side. Just going to pause the recording.
Welcome back.
Hello and welcome back now that we're unmuted.
It works better if you're on
It
mute.
works much better if we're unmuted.
Was I in my pattern or what?
So welcome back, everybody. Now, before we have some shares, I want to say a couple of things. And the first thing that we're going to do here in the main room together is reconnect with your greatness and your vision, right? Because as I said, normally with circle work, we try to leave the circle work in your greatness, right? And often when we do this, when we're diving into the unconscious patterns, you can kind of come out of the breakout rooms and go, oh my God, you know. So let's reconnect with your vision and your greatness, right? So we're going to step back into your circle where you're 100% in the end result, right? 100% in the end result of that choice, 100% in what you would love. And just really connect with that, connect with your greatness. That golden ball of light, that's the truth of you, right? And just be aware that that greatness is the truth of you, right? The pattern that you just noticed from the perspective of your greatness is the overlay. It's the stuff that you've laid over the top of your true self to protect yourself, right? To protect yourself from pain when you were little. But now you want to connect with your greatness, with the core of you, with your heart, and with the vision, the end result you're working with. And notice that from the perspective of your greatness, you can see a pattern for what it is, right? It's a pattern that served you once, right? It was a very clever way to get through life, to get through your early years. It was a very clever way to get you through that, through those times when you were too young to handle the pain, right? And be aware that the reason that we're doing this now, that we want to uncover that pattern, is that now you're an adult and there's stuff that you want to create, right? And that while you're in your pattern, that pattern is going to work against you creating what you love, right? Because it was set up to keep you safe when you were young, when you were a child. So when you go to create something you love, it's going to keep pulling you off that path and into something else, right? So that's the reason we did this, right? We want to know the pattern so that you can be aware of when it's playing out, right? Now, why do you want to be aware? Because you want to create other stuff. And so hopefully what you got from this session so far is a couple of things. One, awareness of your pattern, awareness of some of the steps, but more importantly, awareness that you have a choice of this other circle that you can step into, right? So that when you notice your unconscious pattern coming up, you go, oh, I have a choice, right? I have the vision circle to step into. Cool. Now, was there something you wanted to say? Sorry.
All right. Welcome back. So, how was that process for you? Who'd like to concretize, share what landed?
How did you go? Eva, I see your hand first up. Go for it.
that was so rich, and I'm celebrating my persistence in being on Zoom on my phone right now, which is a bit irritating, but I'm made it work. That was so rich, and I mean, it was wonderful to be reconnected with the greatness, as you just did then. But I came out of that last section feeling full of awareness and new insight, and the quick debrief that Leda and I had, you know, how this doesn't just apply to this one choice. This is about, you know, patterns I can see in all aspects, and, you know, the playing it small and giving my power away. Just yeah, such great information, and particularly I was really stuck with this choice and I didn't even want to go there. And I think that, you know, pushing through that resistance, really, you know, right place, right time, right Zoom partner. Yeah, it very powerful, really powerful process to uncover. And now I have those awarenesses, like you just said, you know, it's about a choice. Where am I going to put my power and my focus? Am I going to keep playing small? Or am I going to step into that greatness and that vision that I can create? So, yeah, amazing. Thank you.
Great one. And thanks for joining. Thanks for pushing through your resistance or just holding the end result. Because we don't like to think of it as pushing through the resistance as creators. It's like holding the end result, right? And it just happens, yeah. And allowing the resistance to be there. Yeah, that's awesome. Are you still traveling, Eva, or are you back on the home ground?
I've been back in Australia 2 weeks today.
Okay.
So I'm back in Adelaide, after some different twists and turns to my adventures. I'm back.
Cool. Welcome back. Cool.
Thank
And
you.
great share. Great share.
Yeah, who else would like to share?
I'm just going to flick through the.
Catherine.
Catherine and then Kath. We've got Catherine and Kath.
Yeah. Normally I'd usually just leave it as Kath, but I forgot to adjust. Actually, I thought the session was great and got some real gold out of the thing. And I think one of the big ones was, well, there's so many really, but one of the big ones is, you know how you should be focused on the end result and then you get the steps. I have the bad habit of taking my steps to create my end result. So sometimes my steps are leading me somewhere, and sometimes it's not even towards the end result. In the end, I'm moving because I'm just forcing, because I can't do nothing. I've got to take steps to feel like I'm getting somewhere, but I'm more or less forcing an end result rather than coming from a focus and then the steps. I keep switching it around. I thought that was a really good one to come out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome to realize it. And I'm sure you're not alone, right? It's like we think, oh, yeah, take these steps and then I'll get somewhere. And we go, well, I must be getting somewhere because I'm taking steps, right? That's my dysfunction. I go, well, if I'm doing something, I must be getting somewhere. And with many of us have various versions of that. So yeah, great to realize, you know, that end result focus means creates that flow, right? So that it's not a struggle, it's not a ugh. And yeah, there's that flow and grace in that. Good one. Thanks, Kath with a C, and now we'll hear from Kath with a K.
Great, thanks. So my partner and I both worked out what our dysfunction is doing. It's creating, we go to avoidance. And so what we did was we unpacked, and I'll speak for me, what I saw was steps that take me to avoidance that I hadn't even realized. Like on this particular choice, getting to avoidance was just like straight line, an arrow. I was there before I even realized it was just not happening. And so the huge value of pulling apart what was happening before avoidance is just incredible, because whoa, Yeah. I have a choice now. That is the truth. I have now opened up, given myself the information to see what I'm doing,
Yeah.
to really see what I'm doing on this one where I'll just go bang, avoidance. So amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing how many steps there were before avoidance.
Yeah, the nuances.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like awareness is such a key, you know, like without awareness of what we do, we have no choice. Just like Kath said, once we have awareness, we actually have a choice and we can choose. But, you know, awareness by itself doesn't do anything. We then need to stop it. We need to interrupt the pattern and choose action in favor of our vision. So, you know, awareness is key, but awareness alone is poison.
Yeah, we talk about just seeing you share cards reminded me of, you know, something from Applied Magic when we did the dominoes thing, the dominoes slide, you know how they have the dominoes and they set them all up and they, you know, they flick one domino and the rest of them go, right? That's our pattern, right? So what we need to do as creators is go, what's the two dominoes I can take out so it's a pattern interrupt?
So it stops
Right.
the whole thing collapsing.
Stops it from going further
Yeah.
into the next step and the next step and the next step, right? So
What's
as long
my
as
pattern interrupt?
as long as you can recognize a few of the steps and then use your will to interrupt the pattern, then you're onto something. Yeah, really good. Yeah, good share. Thanks, Kath. That's awesome. Thanks. Who else? I'm just going to flick to the other page because I can't see everybody. It's so awesome to have so many people here. It's lovely to be back, isn't it?
Yeah, we haven't run a session for a while. So good.
Yeah. Kay. Hey, good to see you. How did you
Yes,
go?
yes, that was so enlightening to focus into those patterns, and it was excellent the way my partner named that. If I'm not in free flow, because my choices have this word free flow in it, so if I'm not in free flow, I go straight into frustration, and then I would just choose to do something that is free flowing, you know, get busy with jobs, busyness, and then I'll come back to it hoping that I've had the wisdom drop in to allow me to get back into free flow with what I was choosing the end result of. But it was also powerful that we both had very opposite patterns. So that was very enlightening too, just to see how other people operate. So thank you for this clarity, seeing my pattern. Thanks.
That's cool. Sounds like you were really well served by your partner. And yeah, there was something I was going to say about what you said. Oh yeah, the free flow, right? So what you're talking about there is there's a condition, right? So part of your
Yeah.
pattern is catering them. A condition of free flow must exist before I can create.
Ah, thank you for naming it that way. She was naming it, but calling it a condition. Thank you. I'll revisit all this. A
Because
condition of free flow must exist.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's either catering to our identity, trying to make ourselves complete, or we're catering to conditions. You know, our focus gets hijacked away from going directly for what we want to going, oh, I must create these conditions
I've got
first.
to do this course. I've got to fix this up.
Yeah. Well, for me,
I've got to get a cup of tea.
that's Ed's. I have to get a cup of tea first.
It works. A cup of tea works.
Or for you, Kate, I must go and do a sand mandala so that I can
Yeah.
feel flowing again, right?
Yeah.
For those of you that haven't seen Kay's creations, I mean, they're awesome. I love them, right? But they can be everything we can do, can be functional and dysfunctional. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, mine is I must have nobody in my space and there must be complete peace before I can write. Right? Am I ever going to write a book if I'm catering to those conditions? Absolutely not, right? So so I've almost finished my book. I've used my will to step out of that pattern and go, yes, there can be people around me. Yes, the guy next door can be mowing. the field next door can be getting slashed by the council and I can still write, right? But that's
Wow.
what we do, right?
Mm,
That's what we do. Yeah.
mm,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
bringing that up.
So Dave's hand go up.
Thanks, Kay.
Thank
Hey.
you. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you're patchy, Dave.
I,
Maybe do you want to turn off your camera
I
while you
think the
talk to us? Because we can't
perfectionist
hear
or
you.
the teacher wanted 5 to 8 steps, or wanted to. It's just my internet playing up. I'm all on. Yeah,
We've got you now.
can you
We've
hear
got
me?
you now. You're back. Yep.
I'm back. Okay. I was sort of saying that I get into a bit of perfection or teacher, and I kind of want X amount of steps, or I want to try and put them in the right order. But yeah, inevitably I get to no steps action or nothing changes at the end. And so yeah, good to see the pattern regardless. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
And
Good
again,
share.
yeah, great share. Condition, right? There's a way it must be, and if it's not that way, yeah.
It's really a cool thing, you know, to write your pattern, the steps down, you know, or what steps you've got out, stick them on the fridge. Look at them every time you go to the fridge. This is what I do. This is what I do. So as when we were framing the session up, we talked about, making the pattern really known to you, like a close friend. It is like, it's not, could be.
Well,
like
it is a friend, right? Because when you know your pattern, it's the best thing you can do, right? It is that good friend that tells you the truth. That tells you the truth about yourself. It is. I reckon it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, the thing is to know it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Who else would love to share how you went, what you got, any questions that you might have, or open to questions, because sometimes things come up and you go, oh, but what about this and what about that? We're happy to hear those as well. Or anything that you discovered or uncovered, recovered, any type of cover. Adriana, nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, for me, it was blow my mind what I discovered. It was really deep. First, when I started, I was already in my pattern. I was not ready for it. I can't have it. I was confused. I don't know how I'm gonna read this, but I misunderstood everything practically because I misunderstood, right? That was a revelation for me to discover that I'm already was in the pattern from start, as my Asia said. And then what she pulled out, I was like thinking, wow, I never thought about it before. Like, I thought it was past me, but then identity you can't change, like William said, right? So it's practically always in me. But I never thought these things. So it was like blow my mind, literally, what she pulled out about my when I'm in identity. It was crazy. And then after I realized when I read her, it was so strange because I feel like it is me again in her. And so I was again confused. I said, I was like literally back up. I said, I don't know what to say because I feel like what I'm reading myself. And then she just said, go back to your innocence and go back to the service. And then I pull out and then I start to just talking. And she said like spot, that was like exactly what is true. But still at the end, I was feeling that was same to me. Funny enough, it was different from start, but the end, what we was discussing, it was like two same patterns in the different area in life. I had different choice. That's why it was. But in that choice, what she chose, it was like, whoa, it was like same. And that's what I was like confused. Am I reading me or am I reading her?
You make a great point. Thanks for bringing that up because it's a lot of people get caught up in this. So really, thank you for bringing that up. And this is where intention becomes really important, right? Because there is, You know, there are times when you get put in a room and you think you're with a mirror, right? You're in a room and you feel like, oh my gosh, you know, we're a mirror. There are times when that doesn't happen, when you have, you know, almost opposing patterns, as came up from a share before. But that's why intention's really important. So when you, as Asha rightfully said to you, you know, if you go back into innocence and intend to be of service to the other person, then you can assume that you've neutralized your shadow or neutralized the possibility of projection, right? Because projection is real, right? It happens. Sometimes we project ourselves and how we see life through our lens onto other people, right? So projection does happen. And the way that we neutralize that is stepping into innocence and setting an intention, intending to be of service to the other person. And the moment that you notice that, oh, I'm feeling a bit confused, I'm feeling a bit uncertain, back into innocence, back into innocence.
I
Right?
don't need
And
to know. I can just
I
make
don't
it
need
up.
to know, yeah. But it sounds like you had a great reading, you know, you practiced your intuition and you received some valuable information from the person that you were working with, right? So the end result of the session has been achieved, no matter how confused your ego told you were, no matter how, you know, all that stuff, you know, it's like William says, everything can go wrong and the end result can still be achieved, right? Everything can seem like it's just going to shit, but the end result can still be achieved, which is why we begin the session with the intention, right? Because the intention gives you an end result. And as long as you keep returning to that and going, I'm just focusing on that, I'm just going to focus on that, I'm just going to focus on that, whatever else goes on doesn't matter, right? You still achieve your end result. So great share. Thanks, Adriana. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, I've got time for one or two more. Let's have one or two more. And they don't have to be groundbreaking or powerful, just anything that that you got. Samala, hi, welcome. Good to see you.
Hi, thank you so much. I got a lot out of that. And I loved it how you were both talking at the beginning, how this pattern is like from eating our breakfast to creating, you know, I don't know, a business or whatever you're going into. So when I reread what Dave actually pulled out for me, it's like, oh yeah, that pattern is like in everything I'm doing. So yeah, it was quite amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's a really good point.
Yeah, like from making your breakfast to a huge project that you're on. It's exactly the same. Same thoughts, same patterns, same. And the other interesting thing I've found since I've been doing this work is how I'm stepping into, say if I'm in a meeting, how instantly I see all the patterns playing out in other people now. It's so strong and it's so powerful when we have these tools, because when you can see all their patterns playing out, you can step into innocence and you just stay calm and just ride through it. And you're actually helping that person to actually come out of their patterns.
Yeah.
Especially if you can hold them as complete.
Yeah.
Hold them as complete and powerful, you know. The more I've found in this work, the more I can hold everyone around me as complete and powerful, the easier my way in the world seems to get. You know, as well as holding myself as complete and powerful. But yeah, even though we all have patterns, we all have those things, everyone's got them, but we all have that greatness.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Samala.
Awesome.
And you know, there was something I was going, oh yes, when you were saying, you know, you notice other people's patterns, you've become aware of it and conscious of noticing other people's patterns, because we notice them regardless, right? If you've ever lived with somebody, and everybody has, because we've lived with our parents or caregivers, like, you know other people's patterns, right? The moment you've spent any time with them, you know that when they do this, the next then they're going to do this, then they're going to do this, right? So we know them anyway, but now you've become aware of what it is,
Mm,
right?
it's interesting. Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and that's the
Thank you.
awareness. You know, I'll share a story because you mentioned the whole thing about, you know, from breakfast to creating a business, you know, or an empire. When I noticed my pattern on a page of writing, I was like, oh, far out, that's my pattern. So this is how I write. Like if I'm writing on a page, I mean, not so noticeable on a laptop, but if I'm writing on a page, I'll start off and it's all neatly spaced out. As I get towards the bottom of the page, I'm starting to realize that I'm running out of space and how much more I need to fit on that page. And the spacing gets smaller and I'm fitting more and more in, right? And I've got the same relationship with time. Like I said, you know, we'll be preparing for a session. I've got plenty of time. We know what we're doing, la-di-da-da-da. In the last 10 minutes, I'll be like, oh, let's do this last bit, right?
Let's
and I'll
put some more in, pack some more in. We're down to 30 seconds. Quick, get the Zoom link. Quick, quick, quick. Ah!
And I'll do the same thing when I'm preparing breakfast. I've got plenty of time. I've got an hour till I've got to be on with a client, right? And then all of a sudden, because I think I've got plenty of time, I do everything really slowly. I stuff around. And then in the last 10 minutes, I'm going, oh shit, I haven't blah, blah, blah. Right? So because I'm aware of it now, when I'm in that space of I've got plenty of time, I go, oh, I'm in my pattern. I'm thinking I've got plenty of time, right? Bang, pattern interrupts straight away and I can step out of it. Except like tonight when I don't.
Want some slides?
Right? When I don't. Cool. Thanks, Samala. Great share. Great share. Yes, and the important point that you made that I just want to reiterate rather than everyone getting caught up in my story is that yes, we can notice other people's patterns, we can notice our own, and to step out of that and step into innocence and just observe it, whether it's another person's or our own, that's where the power comes in. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Samala. Sigrid, let's hear from you. Hi.
The reading that I got from Beck was fabulous. She was so more than 100% spot on. And I was aware that I am so fearful. I let her read me first, so fearful that I cannot do it. I am so fearful that I cannot read the other person. I am not able to do that. And at the end, I am spot on too, which is always amazing. I have always the same fear. I cannot do it. I don't know. And then it's spot on. That is for me always amazing that this comes up again and again and again.
Yeah. And it does come up again, but you know, you're taking action in favor of your vision. Yes. You're living life masterfully. When we have those fears and we have all those resistance and stuff that comes up, and yet we choose to be of service, we step into innocence and we just do it. That is having mastery over those patterns and beliefs. So
I was in this class, I had to do it.
Well, exactly. But see, there are many people. There's 330 something people in the group, right? And there's 30 that turn up to the session, right? So there's 300 people who aren't here, right? Who didn't use their will. There's 300 people, let's say, you know, some of them the time's wrong and all of that. But there are many people who have that fear and they don't turn up to the session, right? And what Ed was saying,
okay,
end up, right?
Okay.
And you have
and what? Yeah, you first.
The resistance was there, and you stepped through the resistance.
Yeah.
You held your end result, and you held your vision.
Yeah, and what was also for me amazing, Beck, he's not there now, and she was the one who is in life, so to say, hiding her greatness. She is as if she is a little bit boxed in, and it was amazing when we became more aware of it, how she suddenly lit up. Suddenly I could see the real Beck. Before there was the closed in Beck, and then I could see the real Beck, and that was such a gift for me. That was so beautiful, and now she's also not there. It's hidden again.
There's just a little thing about, you know, what's said in the breakout rooms stays in the breakout rooms. Just a little bit on confidentiality there. I know that you wasn't breaching stuff, but just generally, you know, yeah.
Oh, I should not have said what I said.
Uh,
Look, we've got a confidentiality. I'm going to say that we've got confidentiality within this container,
yeah.
right? So I would say, you know, and it is on an individual basis, but we have our natural success principles that what happens in the session doesn't go outside of the session.
That means I should not speak about it.
Well, look, I don't know that that's true for me, you know.
Yeah, well,
Because
yeah, I was
it's,
probably
yeah,
being a bit sort of.
within
I thought,
within the
oh,
session,
you were sort of starting to. I thought you were going to start pulling, you know, talking about Beck's patterns,
yeah,
you know, in the room, and I was worried that you were going to do that. What you said was fine.
yeah.
I
No, I
was
thought
just,
it was.
I was just worried that you might start saying, oh, you know, about
Yeah.
somebody else's patterns in the room. That's all. Sorry,
Yeah.
Sigrid.
And what I see when you both speak, you speak about your situation and your patterns. You do not hide it.
Yes, we
Yeah.
speak about ours, not other people's.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point
Yeah.
about our own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But it was ours, Beck and me.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Look, it's a good point to bring up for me, and it is really, you know, it is something that is individual, and for me, Beck said no harm done, right? So for me, we have a container here, and yes, we wouldn't absolutely speak about anybody's else's patterns outside of this session. For me, if it serves the group, I think it's, you know, if it serves the group, it serves the group. Now, often what people will do to put a structure to it is say, when I was working with my partner, then this came out, perhaps without naming the partner. How does everybody feel? I'm actually curious to explore it. I know we're right on time, but I'd love to know who feels that it's a breach of confidentiality if your partner says something about your reading in the main group. So we're not talking outside of the session, but who? Okay, so yeah. Okay, there you go. There you go. So great to know, right? Because we're all individual and we've all got. I'm kind of a bit of an open book, and I go, I don't care who shares stuff about me, right? Because I know my pattern. But obviously, what we've seen here, there's at least half of the people who say, what's said in the breakout room stays in the breakout room. So let's respect that, and we'll know that for the future to frame it up.
Yeah,
so there's nothing that you did wrong, Sigrid, because we didn't, as facilitators, frame that up, right? But we'll know now in the future that when we share, we'll frame up before people go into the breakout rooms. You can share about what you got for yourself, but perhaps not what the others said. And Jane, did you want to add to that?
And if I say something, then without the name. That's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, then just without the name. Yeah, just say with my partner.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely. Yep. And thank you, Beck, for saying no harm done. Yes, Jane, go for it.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. And I think, though, for me personally, that I'd only ever share about my own stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, it's, you know, like you do with clients, you just wouldn't share anything. And even though the whole container is confidential, I think it's a good rule of thumb to follow anyway, generally, is you only share your own shit. And
Thank you. I love this group for that, you know. I love the Creators Collective because we get to discuss stuff like that and go, well, what, you know, how is it for other people? Because I don't know. We tend to, we're all in our pattern, right? And we tend to assume that everybody has the same view on life as we do, right? As I just did, right? And as you just did. So that was brilliant. That was just the perfect way to wrap this up, to complete this session, right? It's just seeing how everyone's got their own way of looking at life. And we've got that, and it's fine. We're human.
Everyone's got their own pattern.
Everyone's got their own pattern and their own lenses, and that's fine. The thing to take away from this is when you go to create something new, when you go to create something that's different to what you've created in the past, the only way you're going to be able to do that is to pattern interrupt, right? To become aware that you're in your pattern by default, and you focus on your true end result and go, what's obvious from here? What's obvious? And take that. And it may feel uncomfortable. It probably will, because it's not in your comfy pattern, right? The pattern is the comfy path, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome thing to put a little bow on it. All right, everybody, we're a little bit over time. Apologies for that. In my pattern, squeezed the last little bit of juice out of it in the last 5 minutes. All right, everybody, unmute yourselves and let's say goodbye to each other, to everybody else. And let's intend to meet again soon. Ed's got spirit guidance tomorrow at 11 Sydney time, 11 a.m. Great to do at least twice a week. All right, see everybody. Say goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.